Let's start this with a scene. Imagine an accountant in his 50s, okay? A man named Yuen, sitting in a hospital room.
Okay.
He's just given the doctors permission to suspend life support for his father, who's dying of lung cancer.
Oh, wow. That's heavy.
Yeah. And he's managing everything, the funeral, the family inheritance, just the sheer weight of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And in those long, quiet hours, maybe hours of grief, he finds an escape, or maybe a comfort, I guess, messaging a woman he met online.
Yeah.
Jessica.
Right. Online connection.
She seems perfect.
Yeah.
Young, works for JP Morgan in New York, life looks great, and she listens to him.
Builds that connection.
Exactly. And after they've built this trust, she confides in him, tells him she has a secret.
Uh-oh. Here it comes.
Yep. An uncle in finance who gives her illegal insider tips on the gold market. That's how she got so rich, supposedly.
The secret sauce.
And then she offers to share those tips with him.
The hook.
That moment. That generous offer from this new friend to a man at his absolute lowest point.
No.
It isn't kindness.
No. It's the bait.
It's the carefully placed bait for a trap. It's the first step in a process they call, fattening him up before a slaughter.
Pig butchering.
A slaughter that will cost him everything. His entire 30-year career of savings, his family's inheritance, and very nearly his life.
That story, and it's sadly terrifyingly common. It just perfectly captures the sinister heart of this pig butchering scam, shazupan. Yeah, the Chinese term is, brutal but honest. It describes that slow, deliberate process. Fattening the pig, building trust, getting small investments,
right,
followed by the catastrophic slaughter, the final extraction of everything they possibly can get.
It's so different from other types of scams we hear about. Phishing, identity theft.
Yeah.
They're usually quick hits.
Exactly. This is different. It's a slow burn. It's built on really profound psychological manipulation, often over months.
And the scope, the sheer scale of this is what's really mind-boggling. Now, we're not talking about a few guys in a basement anymore.
Oh, not at all. These schemes, they operate at an industrial scale. We're talking operations that are actually putting them in direct competition with the global drug trade in terms of revenue.
Wait, really? Competing with the drug trade?
Yeah. The estimated global revenue generated just by Shazupan in 2023 alone was an astonishing $63.9 billion.
$63.9 billion.
Billion. With a B. If that number is even close to accurate, you have to pause, right? Realize this isn't just some localized crime network.
Yeah, it's a shadow economy.
Bigger than the GDP of many small countries.
Yeah.
And it's built entirely on, human misery.
That kind of scale.
Yeah.
It forces a response, doesn't it? Governments, law enforcement, they can't just treat it like minor fraud.
They absolutely can't. It demands they treat this as a major transnational security crisis. Because that's what it is.
So our mission in this deep dive, then, is to really unpack this whole massive phenomenon.
Right.
We need to understand not just those staggering revenues, but how these transnational criminal networks actually operate, how they target these deeply personal vulnerabilities.
And critically, the dark engine fueling it all.
Yeah, that human trafficking infrastructure, which is just horrifying in its scope when you look into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, we need to examine the high-level international strategies being used to fight back, especially the comprehensive tech-driven approach emerging from Asia, trying to dismantle this global multi-layered threat.
And to do that effectively, to really dismantle it, you first have to grasp the depth of the psychological game they play. The sophistication starts way before any crypto wallets get involved.
Right. It starts with exploiting basic human needs like connection, security.
Exactly. That's the foundation.
Okay, let's unpack that psychological play a bit more. Yuen, our accountant, he was targeted during intense grief. You said these scams are highly individualized. How do they do that? Are there training manuals for this?
Oh, absolutely. There are detailed training manuals and scripts. The scammers running these things are taught specific techniques to accelerate trust way beyond just being charming.
What kind of techniques are we talking about?
Things like mirroring. They mirror the victim's language, their emotional state, even their stated interests. They often spend weeks, maybe months, just analyzing social media profiles.
Wow, really digging deep.
Deep. To understand the target's life story, their current vulnerabilities, the scripts emphasize active listening, validating the victim's feelings, loneliness, anxiety, money worries.
Making the connection feel real. Therapeutic, almost.
Precisely. And then comes something called future pacing. They subtly shift the conversation from just present comfort listening to shared future goals.
Often financial goals.
Usually economic ones, yeah. Weaving the scam into the victim's dreams of, a stable retirement, getting out of debt, that kind of thing.
And it's not just people grieving, right?
Yeah.
Who else is vulnerable?
They target a range. Recently divorced people, retirees, maybe facing financial uncertainty, even small business owners who struggled post-pandemic. Anyone looking for what seems like a quick, legitimate financial boost.
That move. From emotional intimacy to asking for money must be so seamless, so insidious.
It is. It's carefully scripted. Initial contact might be on, say, Facebook or a dating app, somewhere public.
Okay.
But almost immediately, they pressure the victor to move the conversation, get it onto encrypted messaging, WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal.
Why do they insist on that, moving off the public platform?
It's all about evasion and isolation. Simple as that. These encrypted apps, they have end-to-end security, makes it exponentially harder for law enforcement to monitor the conversation, especially cross-border.
Right, different jurisdictions.
Exactly. And once they have you isolated in that private chat, that's when the persona is fully deployed. The attractive, successful figure, often distant, like Jessica living in New York.
Right, the aspirational lifestyle.
Always centered on some kind of specialized cryptocurrency success or maybe niche investments. They need that veneer, that look of financial expertise and exclusivity.
To justify the pitch later on.
Precisely.
Cool.
To make the eventual high-stakes investment request seem plausible, even privileged.
And the bait itself, the investment opportunity. It has to feel exclusive, doesn't it? Not just some general stock tip.
Always. It's always presented as an insider tip, a secret platform, maybe limited access that only a few people know about. It makes the victim feel special, uniquely privileged to be let in on it.
So how do the fraudulent platforms themselves, the websites or apps, how do they keep up that illusion of being real and secure?
Well, they are meticulously engineered, designed to perfectly replicate legitimate trading platforms.
Okay.
Many use, or at least mimic, the architecture of real trading software. Sometimes they even use legitimate platform names, like MetaTrader was mentioned in one case, just as a front-end interface.
So the victim downloads what looks like a totally legit, sophisticated investment app.
Exactly. Branded, looks professional, and then comes the crucial part. The fattening.
Right. The initial small investment.
The victim deposits a small amount first, maybe a few $100s, and the system, the fake system, shows these stellar immediate gains, but they're completely fake.
Just numbers on a screen.
Just numbers. And here's a key trick. They often let the victim withdraw a small profit early on, maybe $500 or so.
To prove it's real.
Exactly. That cements the belief. See, the system works, I got my money out, it builds maximum confidence.
So the victim feels safe transferring much larger sums later.
Life savings, taking out loans, sometimes even mortgaging their homes for that final catastrophic investment. It's devastatingly effective.
Let's talk about the technology here, because it feels like the criminals are escalating things, using the latest tools against us.
It's definitely an escalation. They're using tech to multiply their reach and their deception. It's exponential scaling, really.
How so?
Well, think about generative AI chatbots. They allow a single person, often one of those trafficked laborers we'll discuss, to manage dozens, maybe even hundreds of personalized conversations at the same time.
Hundreds?
Potentially. The AI handles the initial chats, the common questions, and critically it handles language barriers, sophisticated real-time translation.
So they can target anyone, anywhere, regardless of language.
It grammatically expands the pool of potential victims globally, removes a major constraint.
And there was one thing that really stood out to me. The video call. You know, that used to be the check. If you suspect something's off, you say, let's video call, see the person.
Right. That was a somewhat reliable filter historically.
Now, even that's compromised.
Precisely. That's the alarming part. Scammers are now reportedly deploying sophisticated AI for deepfake face swapping. In real time, during video calls.
Real-time face swapping.
Yeah. They can superimpose a stolen face, maybe the face from the profile photos they sent you onto their own face, or onto the face of another trafficked worker in the compound.
So Jessica appears on the call?
Jessica appears. It maintains the illusion. This tech is highly specialized now, and if there are glitches, little visual inconsistencies, bad lighting, maybe a slight audio lag.
They just blame the connection.
Easy excuse. Oh, the satellite internet out here is terrible today. It justifies the visual anomaly, keeps the persona intact.
That level of AI integration, it makes the scam so much harder to detect. Almost impossible to confirm visually or audibly, even if you try.
It's incredibly deceptive, raises the stakes significantly.
And the human toll. resulting from this level of deception. It's just heartbreaking. We talk about the billions lost, but the personal stories really ground this crime. The destruction is absolute.
It is absolute, both financially and, just as importantly, emotionally. You mentioned Cindy Tsai, the Boston businesswoman, lost $2.5 million while going through a divorce and cancer treatment.
At her most vulnerable.
Exactly. The ultimate betrayal when someone is already down. And the financial ruin, it often leads to total desperation. It's not just about the money.
No.
Think about that tragic case. The 82-year-old Virginia man, Dennis, after losing his entire life savings in one of these crypto scams, he committed suicide.
Oh, God. That's awful.
We have to remember these are crimes that destroy lives, shatter families, not just balance sheets.
That devastation. Yeah. It brings us to this really stark, painful paradox, doesn't it? Behind every one of those sophisticated scam scripts, the ones that destroy Yuan's life savings, there's often another person being victimized. The life savings are stolen by someone who's essentially a slave, being coerced, beaten.
Yeah.
The crime we just analyzed relies entirely on industrial-scale human misery, which means we have to understand the dark engine operating these scam compounds.
It's absolutely essential to shift perspective here, to understand that these global scam networks are fueled fundamentally by modern slavery.
The victims we just talked about, they're being scammed by people who are themselves victims of human trafficking.
That's a deeply disturbing layer to this whole thing.
I read this report. It detailed the human cost from the other side, the scammer side.
Right.
It featured a young man, let's call him Kai, from a poor rural area in China. He wasn't some criminal mastermind.
No.
He was promised a good job. High-paying, legitimate customer service job over in Myanmar. Thought he was solving his family's money problems.
The classic lure.
Yeah. But when he arrives, his whole reality just dissolved. Passport confiscated immediately.
Akin to one of the compounds.
Exactly. Taken to a guarded compound, forced into a room with maybe 20 other people, and handed a script. The pig butchering script.
Forced to become the scammer.
Forced to become the Jimmy or the Jessica who scammed victims like Yuan. He had quotas to meet. If he failed, beaten, starved.
Horrific.
He was a slave, trapped, and forced to inflict the same kind of pain on others that was being inflicted on him.
Kai's story, that's basically the universal recruitment narrative for this dark labor force. They're lured with these fake, high-paying job ads, online marketing, customer service.
Sounds legitimate.
Sounds great, especially if you're struggling. And victims come from dozens of countries: China, Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, even further afield now.
And once they cross the border into these less governed zones.
Passports gone, immediately confiscated. They're held under conditions that international observers consistently describe as modern slavery. Nothing less.
Describe the environment inside. We hear industrial scale, but what does that really mean on the ground in those compounds?
Well, think about the COVID-19 pandemic. That is a turning point.
How so?
As travel shut down, tourism collapsed in some border areas, real estate got cheap, Chinese criminal organizations saw a massive opportunity.
They
pivoted quickly. They acquired empty casinos, hotels, or they purpose-built massive new high-rise complexes, places like Cambodia, Burma, Laos.
And turned them into scam factories?
Essentially, yes.
Well,
high-security, industrialized call centers designed purely for fraud. The internal structure is incredibly rigid.
Like a hierarchy.
Very much so. You have the low-level workers like Kai forced to run the initial scripts. Then supervisors, floor managers who enforce quotas hand out the beatings.
Correct.
And then you have specialized IT experts. They maintain the fake platforms, manage the complex money laundering operations. It's a whole criminal enterprise structure.
Keeping potentially hundreds of thousands of people captive. The security must be intense.
It's paramilitary level, designed for absolute control, preventing any escape. We're talking high walls, barbed wire, armed guards patrolling 204/7.
Wow.
High-resolution CCTV everywhere inside the complex. Even drones sometimes, monitoring the perimeter.
All to enforce those long work days.
Grueling days, often 14 hours or more. Targeting victims around the clock, with shifts timed for Western time zones now, too.
And failure means?
Failure to meet the scam quotas. Trying to escape. It results in brutal punishment, severe beatings, electric shocks.
Oh, my God.
And tragically, it often results in death. Victims might be denied medical care after a beating, or they just disappear.
This scale. It's not just crime, it's a regional crisis. Do we have any hard numbers? How many people are trapped in this?
The estimates are just horrifying. The United Nations, back in August 2023, they estimated around 220,000 people.
220,000.
held as forced laborers. And that was just in scam centers in Cambodia and Burma alone.
Just 2 countries?
Exactly. The growth of these centers has been explosive. And it's concentrated in these lawless borderland environments. Think the Golden Triangle Special Economic Zone, Shweikoko in Myanmar.
Places with weak governance.
Weak governance, high corruption, often the influence of local armed groups. It creates this shield of impunity where these compounds can thrive.
Which brings us to a really crucial geopolitical point. How did these powerful Chinese criminal networks, guys like Xi Jinping, Wang Kukui, Broken Tooth, how did they manage to set up such massive physical operations there, build this infrastructure?
Yeah, this is where it gets complicated. And where China's a Belt and Road Initiative, the BRI unfortunately comes into the picture.
How did BRI get involved?
Well, these crime bosses were smart in a cynical way. They managed to exploit the framework of legitimate development by wrapping their huge real estate projects, their infrastructure builds, wrapping them in patriotic rhetoric, associating them with BRI goals. They gained, well, at minimum, tacit political cover and definitely local government support in these poorly governed zones.
So the actual BRI infrastructure, the roads, the fiber optics, power grid expansions that helped enable these scam compounds.
Physically.
Absolutely. They provided the connectivity, the power, the logistics. Take Xi Jinping's Yatai New City project in Shweikoko, Burma.
Right, near the Thai border.
Strategic location. It wasn't just a few buildings, it was a sprawling complex, and because it was initially promoted, even by some Chinese state media outlets, as a model for economic cooperation.
It gave it that veneer of legitimacy.
Exactly, that crucial veneer. It allowed them to get resources, clear land, build the physical infrastructure and the digital connectivity, the high-rises, the fiber optic cables.
All needed for massive scam operations.
They basically used the language of development to mask the creation of these incredibly sophisticated criminal hubs.
So these groups effectively built their own self-contained, high-tech criminal territories, hidden behind legitimate-looking investment.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, this threat, immensely powerful, interconnected, it obviously demands equally powerful international response. And that's where we pivot now. From the sheer scale of the crime to the comprehensive response that's really ramping up. Primarily driven, interestingly, by China's own domestic concerns, security, image.
It's not just political will, right? It's a technical law enforcement challenge, too. Needs deep cooperation.
Absolutely. It's complex.
Let's try and ground this. Imagine a Chinese police officer, Captain Chen, maybe, provincial level. He's tracking that $2.5 million Cindy Tsai lost.
Okay.
The digital trail is a nightmare. U.S. bank, Hong Kong shell company, fragments into dozens of crypto wallets. Then the trail goes cold in, say, Malaysia.
Right, hits a jurisdictional wall.
Chen knows the server operators are probably there, but he can't just go arrest them. He needs help, legal, international cooperation.
And that's precisely where policy, these agreements, hit the pavement. So, through a new bilateral data sharing agreement. Let's say Chen flies to Kuala Lumpur, meets his Malaysian counterpart, Inspector Hamid.
Okay.
Hamid, it turns out, is tracking a different scam network, one that hit a local retiree. They compare notes, lay out their data. Chen's crypto wallet addresses, they match Hamid's server logs. Bingo. It's the same group running both scams.
Wow. That connection.
That single moment of connection. 2 officers, different countries, sharing previously protected data because of a legal agreement that's the first real crack in the syndicate's armor. When we talk international collaboration, we mean enabling that moment, giving officers like Chen and Hamid the tools to unwind these global networks.
But if Chen's success depended on that specific bilateral agreement, how fragile are these crackdowns? You know, political relations between countries can sour pretty quickly.
That vulnerability, that's exactly why formalizing this cooperation, legalizing it, is so critical right now. But first, let's look at what really kicked off the current momentum.
Okay, what was the catalyst?
Immense domestic pressure within China. There was this movie in 2023, No More Bets.
Oh, I heard about that. Huge hit, right?
Massive cultural phenomenon. It didn't just entertain, it exposed the horrific realities, the human trafficking, the financial devastation these scams cause.
And it resonated with the public.
Big time. It didn't just show the crime, it also, importantly, illuminated the desperation that led some Chinese citizens to fall for those fake job ads in the first place.
Made it relatable.
Very. And the impact was measurable. A survey around that time showed something like 64% of Chinese participants were suddenly reluctant to travel to Southeast Asia. safety fears.
Wow, that's significant economic pressure too. Tourism is huge.
Exactly. That public opinion shift created immense pressure on Chinese authorities. They had to act decisively, not just to protect their citizens, but also, frankly, to restore regional stability and tourist confidence. Image matters.
And they successfully put pressure on neighboring states.
They did. And the results of that intensified cooperation, particularly with Myanmar, which was a major hub, they speak for themselves.
What kind of results are we seeing?
Law enforcement operations launched jointly by China and Myanmar in late 2023 yielded really significant results. Get this. 31,000 telecom fraud suspects were handed over to China.
31,000 in 2023 alone.
Just in 2023. And crucially, that number included 63 organizers and masterminds, key figures.
They're not just the low-level workers. They're going after the leadership.
That's the focus. Dismantle the leadership structure, not just round up the foot soldiers, many of whom are victims themselves.
This success really underscores the need for that multilateral approach, doesn't it? Working together across borders.
Absolutely. China is engaged in regional mechanisms, like the Mekong River Joint Patrols. That involves coordinating with Laos, Myanmar, Thailand.
To tackle the mobility of these groups.
Right. But they're also using broader frameworks, like the Lanking-Mekong Cooperation Mechanism, or LMC.
What's the LMC usually for? Is it a security thing?
Not primarily, no. The LMC is fundamentally a high-level framework focused on regional development. Things like water management, poverty reduction, cultural exchange among the countries along the Mekong River.
So using a development framework for crime fighting, what does that signify?
It signals the severity. It shows they're repurposing existing cooperative structures to tackle this crisis. It elevates combating Shazupan from just a policing issue to a critical regional security and stability priority. Requires high-level ministerial collaboration across different sectors. Shows real commitment.
And strengthening the legal foundation is part of that too, getting past just political agreements.
That's the goal, to address the vulnerability you mentioned. Relying only on political goodwill for these massive cross-border operations can be shaky. Political winds change.
Right.
So China is actively pushing to legalize this cooperation, moving beyond just political documents towards formal treaties, things like extradition agreements, mutual judicial assistance treaties, especially with key partners like Myanmar.
To make it more robust, more enduring.
Exactly. Provides a stronger, more efficient, and lasting legal basis for action. Ensures future crackdowns aren't easily derailed by temporary political friction.
Now, inevitably, there's been some criticism, hasn't there, about the expansion of these security operations. Concerns about, extraterritorial reach.
Yes, that criticism exists. But it's important, I think, to view these actions through the lens of addressing what had become a non-traditional security crisis threatening the entire region.
The scale of the problem demanded a strong response.
The proliferation of industrial-scale slavery and fraud. It was becoming an existential threat to stability and reputation for everyone involved. China's comprehensive action, yes, certainly driven by domestic pressure and interest in restoring the regional image.
Right.
But it simultaneously reinforces regional stability. And the positive outcomes, dismantling major criminal hubs, rescuing thousands of trafficked victims, enhancing cooperation, demonstrate a pretty robust commitment to fighting transnational organized crime. That benefits all the regional partners, arguably.
That focus on transnational security, it brings us neatly to the next front in this war. The technological battleground. Specifically, this arms race against generative AI.
Yeah, the criminals are adopting advanced tools incredibly fast. Sometimes faster than law enforcement can adapt.
Let's picture an engineer, Lynn, maybe. A brilliant young AI specialist in Shenzhen. She's been working on facial recognition tech. But then she learns how scammers are weaponizing deepfakes. Not just static photos, but real-time video replacements during calls.
The kind we discussed earlier.
Exactly. And her work shifts entirely. She's not just building recognition anymore, she's building a detector.
Fighting fire with fire.
Right, training her AI models to spot the almost imperceptible giveaways. An unnatural blink rate, maybe a subtle audio mismatch, the way light reflects slightly wrong on a digitized face.
Tiny anomalies.
She's in this frantic high-stakes arms race against the very technology she might have helped develop. When we talk technological countermeasures, we're really talking about engineers like Lynn, working to ensure digital trust isn't completely shattered.
Lynn's work perfectly embodies the strategy. You have to use AI to counter AI.
Yeah.
Since the criminals are weaponizing generative AI for deepfakes, advanced voice synthesis, the defense must be equally cutting edge.
And China's taking a lead role in regulating this space.
They really are. positioning themselves as a world leader in trying to govern generative AI, particularly with their deep synthesis regulation.
That took effect in early 2023.
January 2023, yeah. It's a comprehensive law. Mandates strict rules for all AI-generated content, text, image, voice, video, aimed squarely at combating misinformation and fraud.
What's the core principle?
Transparency, that's the central theme. The regulation demands prominent, visible labeling or watermarks on all synthetic content.
So you know if it's AI-generated.
Clearly marked, AI-generated. The idea is to prevent confusion or deception. Beyond that, the law gets specific about biometrics.
Like faces and voices.
Exactly. It mandates explicit user permission consent before personal biometric information, like your face or voice, can be used to create a deepfake. That's a critical barrier against the kind of impersonation used in these sophisticated financial scams.
And it outright bans certain uses.
Strict prohibited use cases. Explicitly bans using deep synthesis for financial fraud, obviously, but also for spreading fake news or engaging in political manipulation. Sets clear red lines.
But having the regulation is one thing. Making it work in practice, especially in high-risk areas like finance, that's another challenge.
Absolutely. The tech has to be operationalized, which led to China unveiling the country's first technical standard specifically for detecting fake digital faces in the financial sector. That was announced in Shanghai, September 2024.
A standard for the banks and financial institutions.
Exactly. It's a technical mandate, standardizing the technological defense against this specific type of AI-powered fraud.
Let's drill into the technical details there, because the standard requires detecting deepfakes across different scenarios. It mentioned replacement and activation. What's the difference? Why do banks need to spot both?
Good question. So a replacement deepfake is kind of the basic face swap we often think of, pasting one person's face onto another body in a video. It's challenging to do well, but maybe relatively easier to spot sometimes.
Okay. And activation?
Activation deepfakes. That's more subtle and arguably more dangerous for impersonation scams. This involves taking a static photo or maybe an old video clip and subtly animating it, making it appear live and responsive.
Like animating a photo of my bank manager, or maybe Human's daughter, to deliver fake instructions.
Exactly that scenario. Making a still image talk or react believably, financial institutions must be able to detect both types, often using sophisticated liveness detection.
Liveness detection, checking for real biological signs.
Yeah, checking for genuine biological movement, subtle tells like pulse detection via microblushing, tiny imperfections. Things current AI still struggles to replicate perfectly.
And to handle all this complexity, the standard demands pretty strict requirements for the AI detection models themselves.
Incredibly strict. Institutions need to build and maintain these vast, sophisticated data sets to train their detectors.
How vast?
The standard mandates no less than 5,000 images of real digital faces, alongside large datasets of fake faces showing various forgery types.
And it needs to cover different conditions.
Crucially, yes. The datasets have to account for all the complex real-world variables that fraudsters try to exploit. Different skin tones, variations in lighting, different camera resolutions, even including voice data for multimodal detection checking voice and image together.
Because the deepfake tech itself keeps improving.
Constantly, so the defenses have to keep pace. This level of detail in the standard is necessary.
So for me, the user, if I log into my banking app and it asks for a selfie to verify a big transfer.
Right.
This standard basically ensures the system behind the scenes is now much better trained to spot if someone's trying to use a deepfake of my face to bypass that security.
That's the direct benefit, yes. Preventing financial identity theft in real time. The goal of this standardization is building a robust nationwide defense system, a systematic AI to counter AI approach.
To enhance online trust, protect financial security.
Exactly. Protect the core security of transactions in an age of increasingly sophisticated AI fakes.
Okay, so as this comprehensive approach, law enforcement crackdowns plus these cutting-edge AI regulations starts to gain traction, what happens next? What does the future threat landscape look like? Does the problem just go away?
Well, not exactly. The initial success, particularly from China's comprehensive domestic efforts, seems to have had an unintended consequence, but maybe a predictable one.
Which is?
Displacement. As surveillance tightened controls within China on social media, on the banking system, the criminal groups running these scams, they started to calculate risk differently.
Targeting victims inside China became too risky.
Significantly higher risk, yeah. More chance of getting caught, assets seized, facing prosecution. So they adapted.
The threat didn't disappear, it just shifted its focus.
Exactly. It shifted towards less risky and often, frankly, wealthier targets, primarily Americans and Europeans.
What did that shift require, logistically, for the criminal groups?
It required a fundamental change in their operations, new recruitment efforts, for starters.
Finding scammers who could speak English fluently.
Right. They needed people with strong English proficiency, so they started sourcing recruits from places like India, some European countries, other Southeast Asian nations where English is more common. People who could effectively run the scripts with Western victims.
And the money side. Laundering.
They had to find new crypto laundering hubs, too, ones outside China's direct banking influence, relying much more heavily on stablecoins, decentralized exchanges, often based in jurisdictions with looser regulations. The entire supply chain of the scam had to adapt for this new target demographic.
And the statistics. They show this shift quite dramatically, don't they?
The contrast is startling. China reported a significant decrease, something like a 30% reduction in money lost to online scams domestically in 2024.
Okay, so the crackdown worked there.
Seems to have had a major impact, but simultaneously the United States saw a huge increase, a 40% jump in reported losses from these kinds of scams. Estimated at roughly $5 billion lost by Americans in 2024 alone.
$5 billion, wow. So success in one region intensified the threat elsewhere.
That's the pattern, which makes the global financial counteroffensive absolutely paramount now.
Because these operations can't exist without the money laundering part.
They simply cannot function without that massive, complex money laundering infrastructure, which is now almost entirely reliant on cryptocurrency, following the money. That's the key to truly decapitating these syndicates.
Let's follow that money trail then. The investigations into the financial facilitators. They really show the scale of the dirty money moving around. Tell us about the Hyoni Group. Based in Cambodia, why were they so significant?
Hyoni Group was a major player. Over about 4.5 years, they processed, get this, over $98 billion in total cryptocurrency inflows.
$98 billion.
Total inflows. Now, not all of that was illicit, but estimates suggest at least $4 billion of it was linked directly to illicit proceeds, much of it likely from scams like pig butchering.
Why were they so critical? What service did they provide?
They provided the indispensable off-ramp. That's the crucial final step. A victim sends money, the scammer gets volatile crypto like Bitcoin or Ethereum. Hyoni facilitated converting that volatile crypto back into stable fiat currency dollars, euros, or into stable coins or other assets the criminal organization could actually use. Spend it, invest it, move it through the traditional banking system.
They bridged the crypto world and the regular financial world.
Exactly. They provided that vital nexus. By doing that, Hyoni essentially completed the slaughter phase for countless scams worldwide.
And once they were identified,
yes,
law enforcement could act.
Yes. The U.S. Treasury's FinCEN, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, successfully designated Hyoni as a primary money laundering concern.
What does that designation do?
It effectively cuts them off from the U.S. financial system. Banks are prohibited from dealing with them. It's a major blow to their infrastructure, severely disrupting their cash flow, at least through legitimate channels. A big win against the financial plumbing of these scams and the asset seizures. They also confirmed the global scale we're talking about. The U.S. Department of Justice launched this record-breaking civil forfeiture action.
How much was involved?
Approximately $15 billion worth of Bitcoin, seized and linked directly to these fraudulent pig butchering schemes. $15 billion.
That's astronomical.
It demonstrates the growing capability of law enforcement worldwide to follow these incredibly complex crypto trails, analyze the blockchain data, and actually reclaim illicit assets. It requires immense data analysis power and that crucial international cooperation we discussed.
So ultimately, this deep dive, it really shows that the fight against pig butchering scams isn't just one thing. It's this complex war being waged on so many different fronts simultaneously.
That's exactly right.
In hospital rooms, where the most vulnerable are targeted online during moments of crisis. In those jungle compounds in Southeast Asia where forced labor is brutally extracted to run the scams.
Yeah, the human cost there is immense.
In diplomatic chambers where countries are hammering out treaties and cooperation agreements to fight back.
Building in those legal frameworks.
And in cutting-edge AI labs where engineers are racing to build technological defenses against increasingly sophisticated digital fakes.
The tech tech arms race.
It just demonstrates this fundamental, inescapable link, doesn't it, between basic human security, the trust we place in digital systems, and the overall stability of the global financial system. They're all interconnected in this fight.